Hello and welcome to Destiny Digits. I am she and she can see. Let's talk about this reading. So I sat down to do the Soul Urge number 4 reading, but then I could just feel like the energy kind of shift, and I had already planned after completing the Soul Urge 4, 5, and 6 readings to do a collective reading just based on what the energy is at this moment. But instead of putting it at the end, it seems that it should best come at the beginning. And so I'm going to do this and get this out and then post the other ones. So another thing, just staying in the energy of what 4 means, since that was my initial intention. 4 is about stability and security. Okay? And so we're going to start the reading looking at the bottom of the decks. And the first card that we have is security. And so, the bottom of the cards, I'm using them kind of as overall messages, like this realization. And so this is the big piece, and then the individual cards kind of talk about the baby steps that we have to take in order to consume that piece, in order to get through whatever this elephant is for us. Okay, and so this moment in time, this is about, let's talk about energetically. The veil is at its thinnest, right? The veil is at its thinnest, and what does that veil separate? It separates the spiritual world, and it separates this physical world, the one that we can consume through our 5 senses, right? But when it's this thin, it's time to consume what's beyond it, what we can't see and sense through those 5 senses, but we have to go to, possibly some say, our 6th sense, our intuition, right? That's how we really get to enjoy this time. Everything that we see and sense is not at all times comfortable, right? But truth never is. And so this is about really preparing ourselves for what this space and what this time means for us collectively. Oh, okay. I literally just had like a coughing, choking attack. And I don't believe that is, random or a coincidence. I feel like whatever truth I say, just because of my intention, it may not always be received well, or it may not be even wanting it to be spoken. And so to not be able to speak momentarily or to cough like that, that means something, because I was speaking fine just moments ago. So I'm just saying that to anyone, because you don't know who else has channels or who else is feeling like, that could be a physical symptom of what people feel. Like they realize, one, that they're coming out of a chokehold, and they're finally understanding what it feels like to gain their breath. Right? So collectively, that's what it is. And so this is about our inner voice, the one that has been in a chokehold. And so why is this so impactful at this moment? And I feel like things are going to be coming at you in different ways. And so you have to realize which sense you're using. And that sense has a connection elsewhere, right? Because we're not talking about this physical world right now. We're talking about beyond the veil. And so who and what is that sense connected to? Who is the source of that sense? And that's the God factor. That's God. Make sure that at this moment in time, you know who you are rooted in. You have no doubts about who you are rooted in. And this, looking at the image on the security card, this means if you were gaining security or an understanding of who you are based on the people that were supposed to give you security, the household that was supposed to give you security, the job, anything that you rooted yourself in that was not everlasting, like God, had the ability to change. And so when you start to realize what was changing and shifting and what really maybe falsely gave any sense of security to you, that has to go away. But it's you wanting to root yourself to something elsewhere, something other than what the ego has connected you to. So this is saying in your mindset, you are not your household. You are not your family, right? You are not your job. You are not your learned intelligence, right? You are of something greater, from something elsewhere. And so, this card has the image of a cave, but, there's a cutout at the top that literally shows the cosmos. And so this is saying, like, do you know how big you are? Right? You are on Earth because you are a member of the cosmos, not a member of a specific earthly family. Like, you're of something bigger, of something greater. This is massive right now, right? And all of us are individuals because we're all coming from somewhere, attempting to accomplish and achieve something, right? And that's what our soul is for. And so my intention to do the soul urge reading, it just turned out that it needed to be a collective message. But it's very much our soul urging us to wake up to who we are. Following security, we have the Eight of Swords, and it's an image of a character walking through a gate, but taking the blindfold off from around their eyes, right? But look at the way in which the character is dressed. Not just a dress, right? It's not a nightgown. It's not a teddy, right? It's not a halter dress. It's not a sleeveless dress. It's not a tube top. Like, look at the dress, right? And so this talks about a level of royalty, right? That you are, that you possess, that is you, because of who God is and what God intended for you to be and to become in this life, right? But when you wore that blindfold, you couldn't see the uniform that God had put on you. You couldn't see, but everything else told you, my security is here, this is what I am, this is who I am. But once you see how you were sent from the divine to present yourself to earth, to this world, you're able to get out of whatever bound you, right? So this is about feeling trapped, thinking you're trapped, but in reality, the gate has been open the entire time. You had just rooted yourself in something that was not truly you. This card says, the illusion of entrapment, a lack of self-confidence that makes you feel helpless, being afraid to take action. It says, take responsibility for your life right now, for your life now. And so the Eight Swords had become a prison. Those are thoughts. Those are beliefs, right? Those are things of tradition, right? Sometimes swords are passed down as a form of, they represent legacy. They represent where we've come from, what our lineage is, But if we don't pay homage to God and to who our true creator is, then we can kind of pick up all these falsities about who we are, where we get our security from. Like, we kind of ground ourselves in things that end up trapping us. They don't allow us to ever access ourselves and see who we truly are. So when the blindfold comes off, that's one win. That is a win right there. Even if this character freezes right there for another month, 6 months, the fact that the blindfold is coming off is a win. A win is a win. Now the next step, and the step following that one, is a win. Give yourself credit for every realization that you've had once that blindfold came off, and then give yourself credit for the fact that you acted on it, that you were in the process of changing it, of doing it. Give yourself credit for every step. The only way you can get out of this gate is if you take a step, but it's a series of one step movements, right? Now, the way you feel behind the gate is not going to be how you feel when you get through the gate, right? Once you get to the threshold, that's a feeling. So prepare. 8 is about work. So you are working through your mind. You were going through one sword at a time to realize that it was never meant to trap you. You were almost working against yourself, not realizing what the reality was because you forgot that you are from the cosmos. You are not rooted in these temporary asinine boxes that earthly people, places, and things like to trap us in, right? So self-confidence kicks in, right? Because you know who God is. You know what the story is. Like you're online. It's like all of a sudden you have Wi-Fi access, right? And so this is where security really is about to kick off for you. The bottom of the last deck we had, it literally is divine abundance. It says you were born to align with love's will, follow the Tao, and serve something beyond the ego. Learn to be abundance and not chase it. So it's not where you are, proverb. So I handmade a deck. Yes, that I'm going to use to do like collective messages, and a portion of the deck is Proverbs, African Proverbs. And so there's one specifically that says, it's not where you are, but what you do while you're there, right? So if we're rooted in our five senses, these things that pick up all types of realities, based on the people, places, and things that we allow to pour into us, sometimes we can get confused about where our source is and who's truly feeding us, right? Who is our true boss? What assignment are we really on, right? This is making sure that we are in our mission. And because you are you and no one else can be you, no one knows your mission better than you do, right? And so for all of us individually, we don't have the same assignment. But sometimes people will try to govern you as if they were your creator, as if they designed your assignment, right? And as long as you're willing to agree that they are your instructor, then you stay trapped, right? So these 8 swords is not just a person, but it's a series of things that have been working to groom you, to make you believe that this box is you, right? So this is, and you're responsible for you. So you can entertain that as long as you want to, or not entertain it at all, right? So these 8 swords, remember I said it's a win. Every step is a win. So you determine when you walk through that gate. And because the veil is at its thinnest, you need to walk through the gate. It's time to walk through the gate, right? And so this is about releasing the ego from all that it has done to keep you safe and protected and secure. But now it's time for you to realize who is truly in charge. Who do you work for? And what are you here to do? And once you can answer those questions, this is when you align, depending on who your master is, right? Let's be real. We're not all working for the same people, places, spirits, entities. We're not all working for the same ones. We don't all align with the same God. And so for those that are here and truly realize what time it is, you also realize that about the people, places, and things that you were attached to in some kind of way, right? It's not always what it looked like. But I digress. Divine abundance. So this is aligning with love's will, which is God's will. Earth is a school. It's a school about love. And a lot of times you're going to have to go without it in order to truly understand what it is, right? And every time you take that step, every time you get a win of any kind, you're getting closer to it. But it's a journey. It's not an outcome. It's never going to be rooted in a person, place, or things. Those things can change. But when it's rooted in source, in God, in the divine, it's forever, right? And when you're tapped into that, you naturally are in the flow. You naturally are going to be abundant. And that looks like many different things. All right, so that is the overall message. Understanding that once you remove the blindfold, because you've come to this realization, abundance from the divine can reach you, and you can reach it consistently. Like it can just be a thing. Okay, so the first row, and I'm recording in an outdoor space. If you're still here, thanks for being here. I'm recording in an outdoor space, so the sounds of the cars passing by, that's what you're hearing. So thanks for listening. Okay, so the first row we have talks about where we're standing. Where do you stand right now? So we have delight, 8 of cups, and self-love. And so this is a journey of self-love that brings you the joy that you've always wanted, right? When we've plugged ourselves into other people, places, and things to love us, we're really leaving it all up to them. And then we are responding and living a life that is always in response to what somebody else has done or not done for us, right? And so as you learn to love yourself, it becomes your cup. You know, cups are about our emotions. 8 is about working through. It's about maturing emotionally about the things that we attached ourselves to because we thought that they would bring us fulfillment, right? And so when we're moving on, but we're agreeing to leave things behind because we've grown, we've had this realization, right? We understand what this is. And so looking at the image on the card, you know, it's a character walking through a doorway with a dog. Dogs represent love, heart, and loyalty. Just very pure spirits. Just always going to be there, no matter what, right? Always there, always loyal, always committed, always loving, always happy. But as you walk out, you don't have a companion other than the dog that brings this spirit. And so this is about you being able to carry this energy on your own and leave behind all the cups that you once assigned to carry it for you, right? Those are people, places, and things. So the image of the chest on the floor, it has 7 cups in it, but he has 1 cup in his satchel, right? So the 7 is a number of seeking. So the 7 that he left behind, it's because you were seeking for that feeling of self-love, but in the wrong places, people, things. And so the 1 cup that you take with you is the one thing that you know you need to fuel you, to carry you as you go on this quest. This is a quest of spirit, right? And the companion of the dog and not a human means that spirit is your companion. This is where you can grant, this is God, right? The Holy Spirit. And so the moon that's above the head and then the scratching of the back of the head, there's a little bit of hesitation, you know, there's a little bit of reservation about what's to come, but it's about maturing enough to know that the time is now to step through that threshold. So we have 2 cards, the 8 of Swords and the 8 of Cups, where it shows characters about to cross over into something new. And so spirit is your companion, considering that the veil is at its thinnest. Above the head of the 8 of Cups is a card that talks about delight. It says delight. And so think about the energy of birds. And they have to be light on their feet. We have simplicity next. But in order for a bird to be light, you know, it can't carry much. And so this is about leaving something behind so that you can get to the joy, right? But everything can't go with you. And so this very much is a journey of self. We have solitude being our 4th card. So this is about a journey of self, and this is about you doing it alone, right? And spirit is your companion. And it is with spirit that self-love is access. It says, let the wall fall that separates me from my own vulnerable inner child. I long to take care of myself like never before. This is about you delighting yourself and being able to make yourself whole and to get it right. You know, that's the beautiful thing about life. Like, unforgiveness is just, it's not even worth it. Because every time somebody gets you wrong, it's really an opportunity that they have gifted you to get yourself right. And so you have to be comfortable with what that feels like and looks like at all times in life, right? And so we can't move into the next if we're carrying anything that that keeps us heavy, and that's emotionally in this situation. And so this is about being our best teacher, our best leader, our best caretaker, our best lover, our best parent, our best friend. This is about loving ourselves right in every one of those aspects, and then that's when we start to attract those same energies back to us. So card space number 2 talks about where I'm going. And so for our first card, we have simplicity, we have chariot, and we have awakening, right? And so when we took that blindfold off, it was because we had woken up to something. And the chariot can be seen as progress, as movement forward, as the ability to advance, but quickly, right? Moving in a chariot is one thing. Walking is another. A bike is another. But I need you to see that this chariot is not physically on the ground in this image. It's floating. Again, the divine is about to carry you. It's actually going to be very simple when you have rooted and ground yourself in your right source of security. And so that's what this awakening does to you. That's where you're going. That's where you're beginning to understand that. And so the awakening card says, "Oh, my Lord, wake me from life as a spiritual sheep. May I hear you through my own instincts and common sense." I'm going to read it again. I kind of felt like really dramatic when I started reading it, but here we go. "Oh, my Lord, wake me from life as a spiritual sheep. May I hear you through my own instincts and common sense." So first thing being instincts, right? And then common sense is all of the experiences that you have acquired from this earthly life. Like, what have you learned? What stupidity will not be repeated again? And so that's what you need to go forward. It's God. It's your intuition, which is kind of like, your corded phone between you and the divine. And then there's the common sense, your earthly experiences. And it doesn't have to be heavy. It can only fit in a chariot. It can only fit in a satchel. So you need to travel light for what's to come. So card number 3 is going to talk about what is inspiring you to do this, right? What is the motivation? Why this? Why now? The awakening, the urge to love yourself. Why now? So we have purity, we have 4 of cups, and we have signs. And so let me just say something. Out of the tarot cards, our deck in the middle, out of the 5 on the table, 3 are cups. So this is very much emotional, right? This is about our love, our commitment, our compassion to other people, places, and things. And so purity says that we are cleansing. It's time to clean out our cups. But as we do that, it can be a rough experience. It can be a rough time. It's not always comfortable. So as he sits under this tree, the look on the face doesn't match the environment, okay? The look on the face doesn't match the environment. There's sadness, remorse, regret, a feeling of just uneasiness with what those cups are presenting in front of him, those 3 cups. But behind him is the presence of an angel with a cup in its hand to offer something divine, right? And so this is about needing to wake up to the environment and not to get so focused on the cups within, right? And if you can just look at the condition of the tree, right? This looks like harvest. It looks like abundance. It looks like there's plenty, and it looks like things are ripe. The apples that fall are the ones that have ripened. They don't need to be connected anymore. Their source has given them all that they need, and now they are ready for what comes next. And so that's about you essentially failing to see what comes next. And what comes next is literally being offered to you in cup number 4. 4, again, is about security and stability. And so this is being offered to you, but it's from the space of spirit. It's angelic, it's magical, it's divine. It's sent for you because of your assignment, of your mission. It says failing to recognize a magical opportunity, missing the point, the distractions of daily life, discontent or boredom, lost in your own world. So wake up. And then beneath that you have signs. It says instincts are the message from the inner divine. Instincts. We started the reading, right? We talked about instincts, intuition. That's where the divine calls to you. It's not going to be from this 3D world. It's going to be from beyond the veil. But everything that comes to you from beyond that veil was not sent divinely, right? So then we talk about discernment. But anyway, this is about you waking up intuitively through your divine sense, your spiritual sense, in order to hear the message clearly. And so the wolf above the Four of Cups is a it has two different color eyes, right? And that's not really something that's common, right? And just the fact that this is a wolf, just the fact that it's a wolf, a lone wolf is a name or a phrase or something to describe someone that is fierce enough to walk alone. They don't need a pack. They don't have to be accompanied by a group. They don't have to be a part of something, right? And so when you accept this cup, when you wake up and realize what's being offered to you and that this is a season of harvest, you're walking in your right. That's solely for you. Your purity is about cleansing everything that kind of dirtied you, right? Anything that confused you, anything that manipulated you, anything that, felt toxic, anything that felt trappy, right? And so this is about purifying all that was in order to be whole and clear about what we're walking into. And so look up, literally look up, and pay attention to the signs, right? And sometimes it's a nudge, it's a whisper, it's the way events kind of line up, right? But it's coming from somewhere and it's not happening for naught. I talked about there being a lack of, coincidence in the very beginning of the video when I all of a sudden felt like I couldn't speak. I had to pause it just to be able to get my breath again, take a sip, just to feel that I was even able to speak. But I'm speaking truth. Even just being on here and doing this is not what everybody's doing right now. So this is very much a journey of a lone wolf, and I think many of us can feel that way and identify with what's about to happen. But the cups, the people, places, and things that you have to leave behind may not always understand that or receive that well or intend for that to go well for you. And then how they act on those intentions really determines what happens to them when the veil is at its thinnest, right? So pay attention to the divine, pay attention to the signs, and know your source, right? And so that's the central inspiration, right? You're being inspired because you're understanding that on one end of your phone, for all those that know what a corded phone is, on the other end of that is God. And that's the only entity, spirit, source that you are rooted in. And so let's talk about a fear. We have solitude, Six of Wands, and divine flow. Six of Wands talks about a victory. It says wise choices that bring public recognition and success, promotions, awards, or scholarships. So sometimes success can be scary, honestly, right? Knowing that you did it. Let's talk about the Five of Wands. That's that battle card, that card of opposition, that card of obstacles, right? That's where you're still training. And then the Six is I just slayed those dragons. I'm on the next level, right? This life can very much be a video game. And you always have things to fight along the way. And they show up in people, places, or things. right? This is a spiritual battle. This is very much a spirit experience, but we're just in a human body. But now the Six of Wands says victory. Above victory is solitude. And so your victory comes, again, from your time alone. Because even when you're alone, you're not alone, right? But who's keeping you company? Who is keeping, or what is keeping you company? Is it a substance? Is it a thought pattern? Right? Is it feeding you, or is it taking from you? Who keeps you company in your solitude? We have divine flow. It says, eventually, one sublime desire takes precedence over all others to follow the Tao, the divine flow at all costs. Listen, no matter what happens, the one promise that you promise yourself is that you follow God, you follow the divine, no matter what happens, no matter how many times you fall off, no matter how many times you get it wrong, no matter how many enemies you pick up along the way. You never break that promise to yourself, right? Because when you maintain that promise, you're always going to be at victory, even if it doesn't look like it. That's when you turn on your intuition. That's when your instinct kicks in, because you understand who's feeding it from the other side. And so the solitude card has, a character sitting in a boat, and their arms are up, the oars are in their hands, and so it seems that they are rowing in addition to flowing, right? What makes the river move is the same thing that makes you move. And so when you can be in flow with the river, life, your emotional space, your intuition, your instincts, when you can be in flow with that sense, you're in flow. You have gained victory. Right? Six of Wands is about passion. Those are cards of fire. It's about success, thriving. But you can't do it without God. Right? And so unplugging anything that gave us energy, that fed us energy, that wasn't divinely assigned or sent to us. It could have been sent to us through a whole different entity. Right? Card number 5 is about what are your truest desires. Your truest desires. We have protection, Six of Cups, and expansiveness. Six of Cups is a card that talks about a pastime. This reminds me of like the movie Scrooge. And I know they've remade that in different ways, right? I know there's one with Matthew McConaughey and Emma Stone, and then the other one that I watched as a kid with Bill Murray, right? And so that was a story about somebody walking backwards with the assistance, the guidance of an angel, walking backwards through their life to see themselves, but from the position or the seat of how spirit saw them, right? Because when you get that perspective, it's a whole different feeling, right? And so when the veil is at its thinnest, not only are other things being revealed to you about people, places, and things, but you are going to see you too. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That could totally be a good thing when you really understand who you are and what you're here for. Above the Six of Cups is protection, right? And so, when it's thundering, no, let's just get straight to it. When it's lightning, you don't want to stand. Don't run to a tree. Can we all agree? When it's lightning, don't run to a tree. But sometimes people do that, right? And sometimes life can feel like it's lightning. It can feel like there's a storm and you're a target. But this protection card says even if this environment and even if these are conditions are not the greatest, even if they feel threatening, you're protected. Right? So don't rely on those 5 senses and the beliefs of the boxes that you have been put in or forced yourself into. Don't believe that. Realize that your protection is rooted. Think about the roots of a tree. Your protection is rooted in that of the divine. And so this angel, this Scrooge-like moment of the angel taking you back in time is really a feeling of nostalgia, right? This is about the youthfulness of our spirit. This is when we were at a point in life or when we could connect with a feeling where we had no fear. We just lived in just some type of knowing, right? That the divine had us. But then we collect all these fears, we collect all these things that really kind of take that out of us or suppress it at the least, right? And so this says children or childhood, revisiting old dreams or plans, embracing your inner child, the return of people or romances from your past, romanticizing how things used to be. And so listen, one thing you can agree on is that every one of those lightning bolts did not harm you. I mean, maybe for a little bit, a couple times they did, you know. But you're here. Here I am. Right? And so realizing that the divine had you the entire time. And so before you got scared about who and what your protection was coming from, what were you dreaming for? What were you hoping for? Who were you having those dreams and feelings with or about? This is about connecting with that part of us before fear took over. Who were we? What were we? What were we desiring? What did we want? Right? And so when you can live in that space, when you can feel safe enough to dream, these things are called into you. Beneath that, expansiveness says, eternity is far more creative than the rigid, constrained, and exhausted ego. That's the ego of others that are imposing on you, and then that's also the ego that you have mustered up through that sweet subconscious of yours, right? And so when you move beyond that, you can't help except to expand. Expansion is the only thing. You just got out of the box. You took off the blindfold. You opened the gate. You walked through the door. Expansion. And that's where you tap into you. That's where your creativity lies. And so know that as you begin to do that, you are protected. No matter what it appears to be, you are protected. Your path is uniquely and divinely designed for you. Alrighty. And so we already looked at the bottom of the deck for each of the decks, and that was the secret of the search. It was about realizing where our security is truly coming from, right? Taking off the blindfold and looking at this vessel that we're in. And on the card it's represented as, a beautiful ball gown, but that just talks about the loyalty and the loyalty that the divine has gotten from you and is entrusting you with. Through all that you've been through, you're still you. You're still a member of God's team, right? And so take off the blindfold and realize the formal wear that you got, realize what you're wearing, and prepare for what comes next. And it's divine abundance. That is the secret. Any abundance that you thought you had, or that was defined by other people, places, and things, if it wasn't divine, then it wasn't abundance, right? It has to come from God. It has to come from the right source in order to be abundance. Everybody that's abundant or wealthy didn't get it from God, right? And so that's why you need to always make sure who is on the other side of that corded phone, who is feeding you, who is talking to you, who's pouring into you, who's grooming your mind, who's giving you information. And then once you realize, right, the answers to those things, that's when it's time to put certain cups in a chest to take what truly is spiritually assigned to you, and you walk through the threshold into what comes next. Okay, I'm hoping this was collectively a good message. Thank you so much for being here. Take care. Bye-bye.